Bum, bum.
Hi! You have joined us for another episode of The VUU, a lively give and take of Unitarian Universalist happenings. I am Meg Riley here in Minneapolis, where happily it did not snow today, though it did earlier this week, and we are all beyond angry, beyond bitter, beyond disappointed. We're just to pure denial and probably a lot of addiction going on about now. How about other regulars? What do you got to say for yourself?
Hank Purse here. I'm speaking to you from rainy Medford, Massachusetts, where it's in the 40s and raining. But life is good.
And I'm Tom Shade. I'm retired in Ann Arbor. I check out the window to make sure how things are going. And it's a beautiful day in Ann Arbor. It's like one of the first, about 2 days ago, it started getting nice in the afternoon. It rains in the morning and the evening just to keep us in tune, but, you know, it's been nice in the afternoon. So
it's like Hawaii.
Happy as clams.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
There are no clams in Michigan. But the daffodils are up. Every day there's more little green things in the woods. It's beautiful. So we're happy.
Excellent.
Like the room without a roof, you know?
Our regulars, Joanna Crawford, is candidating this week in Austin, Texas.
Go, Joanna!
Did you see her Facebook posting?
No.
Which one?
She's off on a nature.
They're on a 3-hour hike during candidating week.
I hope it's not like Gilligan's Island, a 3-hour cruise.
That's right.
What is this, like Survivor candidate week? Right? You know, I mean, and she also says every time I ask them if they're going to make me eat bugs, they just look away.
Uh-oh. Well, Joanna, if you're still alive to watch this, we send you our best there. Patrice Curtis is in a day-long meeting. Lucky Patrice. With she does legislative ministries out there in California, so she's working on good water for everybody. I was just in California, and boy, there are a lot of signs from the other side about water and the Senate stealing their water and things like that. Today we are joined by Rev Erika Hewitt from the mid-coast of Maine. Erika is a hybrid minister. She's part-time in a parish and part-time teaching and writing. Hey, Erika.
Hey, good morning.
Excellent. So, Tom.
Can we call you a cyborg minister? It's much more exciting.
Yes, but I'm not enough of a sci-fi nerd to know what that means.
Oh,
so
maybe like a bionic woman. The bionic minister.
Bring the costume to GA and I will put it on.
Excellent. So, Tom, it's a big day for you, May 1st. Tell us.
Yes. It's May Day.
It's May Day.
I see prisoners of starvation. Oh, no, it's another reason, right?
Oh, yeah, May Day's a big
day. Okay. Well, aside from the fact that tomorrow is my birthday.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday.
Just try to drop that in.
Yeah, everybody, Facebook him, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to
Anyway, it's a big one.
Wait, how big is it?
How big is it?
It's got a 0 at the end.
No.
A 5.
It's got a 5 at the end.
It has the big 5 at the end.
Well, the big 5.
Yeah, the Medicare card comes tomorrow. So.
Oh.
All right.
You are old, Father William.
I am officially old now. In fact, I sent in a note saying I was going to retire.
Well, what does it mean to you, Tom, that your birthday is also on Beltane when thousands of pagans celebrate with the maypole?
There you go.
I think that's very nice of them.
Ah.
No, my mother said I was born so that she could get out of May meetings.
Right.
That's a Unitarian.
That's the Unitarian joke there, an old Boston Unitarian joke at that point. When I was born, my father was the minister at the Fallen Church in Lexington, Massachusetts. And, you know, May meetings were held. That was the equivalent of GA for American Unitarian Association. And May meetings were held in Boston in May, on May 1st. And my mother got out of it one year by
You weren't born till the 2nd. What, was she lazy? I mean, come on.
Well, you know.
It's May 1st. So, Tom, why else is it a big deal? It's your birthday.
One other thing that should be mentioned is that today is the day that UUMA Connect goes live. And UUMA Connect is a website for continuing education for UU ministers being put together by the Center Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association. Center is, it's an incredibly long title, but it's continuing education, neurotransformation, and emergency rehab. Something like that.
Emergency rooms, yeah.
But anyway, and I've been working on that project for 8 months now, I think, as the center portfolio holder for online continuing education. So I'm very excited about this.
Fabulous.
And it's great. I was part of the beta testing folks.
Oh, were you?
Cool,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Were you too, Erica? Meg, were you guys?
No, I'm jealous.
No one asked me.
I've been mucking up around there, tell them how to change things. It was good.
Yeah.
I don't know if they listened to anything that I had to say, but it was good.
Well, we figured we wanted to get the
who can break it.
The most obnoxious potential critics into our post.
That's why we weren't invited, Erica.
That's right. It needs to work better than the first version of the Obamacare website.
Oh yeah, well,
that's the bar. That's the bar.
I know. See that? My wife's in information technology, and she says the Obamacare thing is it has been such a boon to everybody else because no matter how much it's screwed up, they go, well, at least it wasn't like that. People go, well, yeah.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, there you have it. Yeah,
it's good to have a level setter there,
There you go. Well, congrats, Tom. You've been working hard on that. That would be exciting.
Not as hard as Allison Palm, but deserves great credit for it. But
true that. She's paid a little, though, right?
Oh, yeah, she is paid. A little, I think, is the operative word.
Operative word, yeah.
I know. So we're very excited about it, and if you're among the first 10 people to sign on, I do believe you get a free gift.
I'm all ready to go. I've got a window open right here. All I need to do is hit the sign in button, and I will do that in an hour, right?
I see you doing that. I'm going to do the same thing.
Noon.
And I myself will not be there because I cannot remember my password, nor do they seem able to send it to me because I was trying yesterday to register before the deadline went up. As GA deadlines went up today too, so sorry you folks who procrastinated.
You used to be able to connect in through Facebook, but
it says that's broken.
That's broken.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's probably
it's the same password as your UUMA.org.
Yeah, I should write these things down.
What I do is I put them in the automatic memory bank of my computer, where then it didn't even for me, and I could never get them again.
Exactly. Then you can never remember them. So I was just out in the.
You think you're going to say something? You have to jump in harder.
Yeah, you have to jump.
Oh no, I'm lagging behind because is it through the UUMA website? Because I see that I'm just realizing now know all about the prize, but I don't know how to actually get there.
You go to, it's actually connect.uuma.org. No, I think it's connect-.uuma.
And it's connect with a K.
No, you're just trying to get that prize.
With 2 U's in it. So I missed last week because I was out.
You can also go directly from the UUMA, the new UUMA.org website. There's a connect button along the top there. You hit that, it takes you automatically to that site.
Oh no, all I'm getting is the YouTube. Okay, I see. It's probably because it's not news.
All right.
Sorry.
That's
Meg,
probably enough of that. Thank you.
You should jump in, Meg.
Last week I missed this because I was on a plane to San Diego to be with the Pacific Southwest District, and as this move towards regionalization takes place, I'm a little awed by the size of that region out there. Mm-hmm. It goes from Mexico to Canada to Alaska to Hawaii it's gigantic, and it's daunting. And,
America, baby.
This is
when we did this in New England, and we're talking about bringing in Maine into the same one as Massachusetts and Rhode Island. People are going, it's so far.
So far. Regionalization in Massachusetts means bringing in a different area code.
Exactly. True that.
Think they're on the T anymore?
Yeah, seriously.
But the Western region will always have the best tacos of any.
Well, I'm sure.
That's
lots of things.
They'll have, if you think they could meet in Seattle, San Francisco, or San Diego. Those are 3 pretty nice places. Or Honolulu, Fairbanks, or that's pretty nice. They are great, though. I just, you feel every chapter, every area feels really different. And the Pacific Southwest just seemed happy, although they were hilariously, to me, whining about how cold it was because it was like 65, And oddly, after being there for about 3 days, I found myself at a gas station saying to a guy, geez, it's cold. And I meant it. That was the thing. I thought, how quickly we forget. And then I came back here and promptly.
The body adjusts.
Exactly, the body adjusts.
In that district, they all wear those fleece UGG boots.
They do
until it gets 75, and then it's finally warm enough to put on the fleece.
Oh yeah, you used to live out there. Yeah, I saw UGG boots. I mean, late April, people are there in UGG boots.
You can get frostbite if it's only 72 degrees in Southern California.
I know. And I said to someone, yeah, it was 75 on Saturday in Minnesota. Yeah, which, to us, we were just, everybody was out. No one was in
shorts.
No,
that's when Minnesota started going, it's so damn hot.
And, of course, Minnesotans are big whiners. But so I said it was 75, and someone said, oh, gosh, it was only 72 here. So we live in different worlds here.
Yeah, right. It's not competition. Right? No. Erika, where did you come from? Where are you from originally? Where did you grow up? I can't remember.
Well, in actuality, Ohio. So Central Ohio, Delaware, Ohio, home
of
the little
Delaware. Yeah.
Home of what?
Erika.
Well, no.
Home of Erika.
Do they have that on the sign?
Erika's trying to say.
And Rutherford B. Hayes.
Oh yes.
President of the United States. So yes.
Rutherford B. Hayes, right? Sure.
Ohio had a lot of the big presidents, like Marion, Ohio, where my great aunt was from. They had, I think, Millard Fillmore or somebody. I mean, Warren G. Harding. Warren G. Harding. Yeah, we had the most.
I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio.
Yes.
Which is right by Niles, Ohio, and I thought all cities would have a memorial to William McKinley, but apparently it's.
Well, I spent part of my life.
Apparently, it's a relatively rare thing.
I was in Akron for part of my life, and I literally thought all cities had streets named for rubber companies and schools named for rubber companies.
Like what? Trojan Avenue?
No. Goodrich, come on. Firestone.
The Magnum Thoroughfare.
It's a very wide street.
Oh Lord, Erika, you see what you got yourself into.
I totally do. I'm laughing. I'm laughing so hard that I stirred the dog from his nap, and so now I'm having
sorry.
Everything's fine.
I'm really sorry to see your Facebook post about your dog dying.
That was.
Yeah, Meg.
Oh yeah.
This is where Facebook is so healing. I mean, people who knew my dog 14 years ago as a puppy. When I lived in D.C., we're all posting about their memories, and that was so healing to me. Like, oh my gosh, people who have known Penta her entire life are grieving with me, and I really saw the power of social media in that way because I hadn't even thought about it. But this old neighbor of mine, who back when I couldn't ever tire the puppy out, she had a fenced yard and I didn't, so I lived at her house. I didn't even remember she was a Facebook friend, and so that really helped. But yeah, it is amazing. We do have another dog, thank goodness, but the quietness when a pet is gone, just you see how much space they take up in our hearts and in our lives. So it was a very peaceful departure. The vet came to the house, gave one shot, and she went to sleep, and then gave a second shot and stopped her vitals. And I thought, this is the way anyone would want to go, at home, surrounded by love, peacefully. It just made me think I want to retire in a state where there is physician-assisted suicide because it just was so peaceful. And I thought, there was no, I didn't have to drag her in on a steel table to a vet and all of that. So anyway, it was sad, and she lived a long, good life, so it wasn't tragic in any way. I had a friend's son commit suicide this week, and that was tragic.
Oh,
it's very tragic. It's I just feel like, gosh, this month, with colleagues and other things, it's been a lot of letting go. So our theme at CLF this month is holding on and letting go, and I'm like, oh geez, in October our theme is mourning. What's going to happen then? So anyway, yeah. So, Erika, we invited you because you posted a really intriguing blog the other day that's been getting a lot of attention. And so, first of all,
it was all about why you've never been on The View before. Just complain.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
let's get her on.
What do I have to do to get on The View?
The cover of the Rolling Stone UU version, right?
Right.
That's always death to a career, isn't it?
There you go. So, you know, one thing that your blog made me curious about is what project you were talking about. Some creative project that you're working on that I know nothing about. Maybe it's a secret, but it made me curious to hear what big dream you have. And then you were talking about what kind of leadership is needed and what kind of supportive leadership is needed to live out big dreams. So, have at it.
Big dreams and little dreams. Yeah. I mean, so technically, I just want to correct that I don't have a blog, so Tom kindly let me take up some parking space on his blog, and the note is on Facebook, and it's been shared something like 15 times in 20 hours. So
it's been read about 150 times on my blog.
Yeah.
That's right.
I feel it's been building in me for a long time, and essentially what it is as my dismay and my disappointment at what I notice is just a pattern of a lot of us coming to responding to new ideas, responding to anything, even like a worship service, with a critical eye or assessing it as consumers, as reviewers, rather than seeing beyond what's offered to the risk that it takes, the courage that it takes to be creative, and finding a way to be curious and appreciative for the people who have created it. So, and then I suggest a way. It doesn't have the acronym power that Center has. But then or the VUU. But I suggest a series of steps for kind of catching ourselves, because I've done some of this standing back and criticizing or rolling my eyes at stuff, and I don't want to do that anymore. And it's not serving our people. It's not serving the spirit of Unitarian Universalism. So the big project that I'm working on is that our colleague Michelle Favreau and I have been creating the opening worship service for General Assembly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they invited us back in November to not just do the service as it's always been done, but to totally take it apart. And we asked about 6 times, are you sure that you're giving us this much freedom? And they said, we are giving you this much freedom. Do anything you want. And so we're very, very excited.
My sock puppets will make an appearance.
Absolutely. And in my cyborg costume, the one that Nick's going to provide. So the point of this reflection is that I'll speak only for myself. I've been catching myself for months now, because I don't think people realize that planning for GA, everything happens between about December and April. Mm-hmm. The service is now done, even though it won't happen for a while. I'm bracing. I'm bracing. I'm putting on armor. I'm getting ready. I know that people are already lifting their arrows and pulling back on the string before they've even let the postlude die down, before they even stand up and leave the arena. And that, as a leader, is hurtful, and it's scary, and I don't think it's necessarily my neuroticism, although I can be a little neurotic. I think it's this pattern that I see elsewhere, especially on social media and just in everyday life.
Bless you, Tom.
Bless you, Tom.
I need it, thanks.
So I'll just leave it at that and hear what you have to say about that.
Do you think it's just a UU issue? Is it a larger cultural issue? Is it a people dealing with how people respond to church issue, that like everyone's just kind of critical, everyone's all church folk are still feeling like
Tom, you could mute while you blew my just for the record.
Tom, would you like to be talking right now?
Oh, hey, Felix Unger, could you mute there? Thank you.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Yeah, old man. Yeah. Do you think that is it like sort of like people who are in religious institutions. I mean, I see this all the time. Like all anybody wants to talk about, like the church is dying and like warning, you know, and like what fun is that? Oh my gosh, you know. Do you think it's that, or the Unitarian Universalists who, with so many folks coming in from outside of our movement, you know, because often you know unhappy with a faith that they've grown up with, coming in, you know, and then sort of going like, oh my gosh, this isn't perfect either, and you know, and then start chewing, you know, at our own, you know, arm, you know, trapped in the trap sort of thing, or you know.
I think it's the cultural forces that are just coming into our congregations. I think we're just soaking it up. We know that we can't trust our leaders. We see what our politicians do. We know the big banks have screwed us over. Blah 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 blah. We're asked to constantly be consumers and reviewers and assess things, and I think that we've lost the ability in some ways to kind of draw the curtains against that, and within our communities say there's a new way to interpret right relationship. There's a new way to interpret covenant, given what our culture is sort of teaching us to do and to be. And so I think if we want to survive and thrive as a movement, we have to do it what other people are doing in secular ways. I mean, I acknowledge in my note that a lot of it is inspired by Brene Brown. And she's a woman, she's a professor of social work from Texas, and you know, her YouTube TED Talk has something like, I don't know, 3.5 million views. 10 million. 10 million, there you go. So people are responding to this, whether it's in the religious milieu or not. But the invitation to say, you know what, I don't need you to be perfect, because if you don't need to be perfect, then I don't need to.
Well, Erika, you know, I'm doing one of those worship services too.
Yeah.
And I think part of what feels hard about GA is exactly, you are too?
Yeah, okay. Saturday morning.
Is exactly
I'm not. Nobody ever asked me to do anything at GA.
That's because preachers fight club.
We know you're so busy at GA already.
That's right. That's right.
I'm doing the important stuff.
So, I wonder if part of what creates your dread is that we have to have every word written by May 9th. Is that it's supposed to be so, I'm a P on the, you know, okay? Yeah. So I often say the keynote that I just gave in PSWD.
Yeah.
It was partly written, but I was partly responding to the energy in the room. Yeah. I mean, and so there's no space for that at GA. And I wonder if, I mean, the only real live thing going on is the terrible transcription year after year, because that's live, and so there.
That's my favorite part.
It's fun watching for the crazy typos.
Exactly, because it's live.
Freudian typos.
Right, because most of it is so, like, you know, Mark Bellatini's part of mine, and he was joking, like, well, if anything major happens between now and GA that we want to respond to, you know, too bad. And so I wonder if partly, and this is not faulting the very hard-working people who put GA together. I want to be clear that the volunteers do work that is downright heroic. And I feel like the more we try to control offending people, making mistakes, and God knows we've seen it all happen, if that doesn't in a way set us up to be more disappointing to people.
Well, there's a cycle that goes in. I mean, the reason why people are that controlling is because they are afraid
of
the very atmosphere that Erika's talking about.
That's right.
Entitled atmosphere that says, you know, and I think part of it comes from us as ministers. You know, it's kind of like I work, you know, when I was in the parish, I worked every week to make it perfect, right? Why shouldn't somebody make it perfect for me? You know, that's the attitude that comes in, that the kind of aggrieved entitlement that you know, I often see in UUs, that somehow you owe me a perfect experience, But
how do you create a perfect experience for 7,000 people?
You can't.
You can't.
Right?
You know, I talk about
Well, you know,
Go ahead.
to me, it's all. What, Hank? Are you trying to say something?
Yes, I am.
I'm looking at you, buddy. You know,
I just went this last week at my church. The search committee at the Westford Church has moved into the second round of search, so they're continuing to interview folks, and they have everyone just is really everyone's tense, everyone's wondering. I brought up like questions that people might be having, like why is this happening? Are they doing something wrong? And I brought up the point that finding a new minister isn't like Moneyball in baseball, right? You can survey, you can do all this, rhythms. You can look at all this different stuff, but
biorhythms.
But whatever, you can look at all the different things that go on. That Keith talked about. How many younger people, how many people coming out straight out of seminary, getting churches, all that sort of stuff. You can look at all that stuff. But if you follow only, numbers and words that seem nice, and you leave no room for the Spirit, then it feels like that, And I one of the examples I gave was that in the Coptic Christian Church, the way they choose a new pope is that they get all the leaders together, and they sort of say, okay, let's come up with 3 names, people who could be the new pope, 3 bishops, and they vote. And they come down with these 3 names, and then they put these 3 names in on a piece of paper in glass balls, and then these 3 glass balls get put into a larger glass vase, and then they take a 6-year-old child, blindfold them, have them reach in there and pull one of the glass balls out, and whoever's name is on there is going to be the new pope for the Coptic Church.
Oh, it's so unfortunate that Joanna's not here. She's on.
That's right.
Well, it's fair. I learned about that.
Probably as good as anything we have going.
But it's like we've done our due diligence.
We could save a lot of money for search committees.
Exactly. But it's also like that the Spirit all of a sudden kind of you throw it open. And there is this aspect of the Spirit coming into the search process of worship, that also needs to be there too,
Well, the Coptic Pope doesn't have much to worry about because basically his job is not to change anything.
Way better hats. Way better hats.
And that's, but to me it's not just the Spirit; it's the sense of mission. It is the sense that we are involved in an effort here that we need everybody's participation in, and that we're just trying to bring as many people along as possible. I just can't imagine that, when they had those mass meetings during the Montgomery bus boycott back in 1954, that, and they had these mass meetings every night, that people walked out of them going, that piano wasn't in tune, and wasn't that second singer horrible? I mean, my God, she sounded like a squeaky barn door, and and I couldn't find the fragrance-free section because it smelled like the flowers up in my area, and the lady in front of me, her hat was way too big. They had a sense of mission about what they were doing that tried to include everybody, and that meant overlooking small irritations. Because we're trying to bring but we don't have that sense because our mission is to make ourselves happy.
Right, but it also relates to who we say we are. If we say that we're a people of relationship, not a people of creed, then I just want us to be talking about how it is that instead of being in a relationship, some of us are going like this, like I don't like that, I don't like that, I guess I like that, and I don't know, the phrase "bring along as many people as possible." I just don't think we're honest enough that people have a right to a voice and a viewpoint. They have a right to a vote, and they also, that means, have a responsibility to let go. And if someone else is being served, know that means, the whole is being served.
When somebody says that about you, you should expect that some part of the of every worship service should not speak to you because it's speaking to somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, it does make you wonder.
If it's only the minister.
If we went to General Assembly with intention and a focus on creating more love, on creating more right relationship, what we might do together, rather than a focus on creating my self-definition of what would have been good enough and what wasn't. And you know, I think we all long for that. I think we long for it, and we're afraid. This is actually, I was asked to give the keynote on growth in the PSWD, and what I actually talked about, I think maybe they wanted me to talk about social media, but I didn't. I talked about risk and vulnerability.
Yes.
And I said that unless we were willing to really own our broken places as part of who we are, that's going to grow, not as something that we're going to overcome and change, because my experience, being as old as I am, is that really we don't change that much. You know, I mean, we might try to, but basically we are who we are. And what if we quit trying to, you know, define this really, it was hilarious. Arvind Straube, who's retiring, cheered for this, and all the current ministers were in the back row, and they looked at me like, no, you didn't say that. I said, what if we quit trying to make everybody really articulate about what our faith is, and said, you know, we're a people who aren't very articulate about our faith. But because it's not being articulate, perhaps isn't the center for us, you know.
It's true. I was trying to convince some folks who are making T-shirts for GA. I said the T-shirt should say, you know, hate organized religion, you'll love us. You know, right? As much as we all hate like people saying that, and it's like at the same time, like, you know what? It's a selling point. Maybe we should just go with that, and you know, and use
it's
that.
Who we are. I mean, how many workshops have we all led about elevator speeches and testifying? And I mean, I'm all for people talking about how this saves them. I love that.
Yeah.
But I don't care if people in 40 seconds, unless they're going to do media. I don't really think telling their neighbor in 3 sentences who we are is the key thing. The key thing is, what do their neighbors observe about their life? Do they observe kindness and activism and courage? And, you know, so anyway, it was very funny to look back and see this row of, like, shock and horror in my colleagues. Although Susan Frederick Gray told me later, no, Meg, we were just all thinking. We were just thinking about what you said. So. What if we did just...
She is so polite. She's so polite. Such a good liar.
You know, what if we did just say, this is who we are, for better and for worse, and quit trying to be a little better than who we are? I think who we are is okay, you know, and I think... Yeah,
people experience our effort to be a little better than who we are as trying to be a little better than who they are.
Wait, say that again.
People who experience our trying to be better than who we are as us trying to be better than who they are. Mm-hmm. People don't go, oh, well, look at them. They're trying so hard to improve themselves. They just go, well, look at them. They think they're really, you know, hot shit.
The thing is...
Live TV.
The thing is, I think that sometimes, and I'm not trying to put a damper on this. I think sometimes we think a lot about being kind to other people. We think about kindness toward the stranger, and then within our own UU communities, there's just something that we can't quite be real enough to extend that same kindness to each other. Mm-hmm. You know? And in terms of, well, it wasn't perfect, but I'm not. That allows me not to be perfect, and let's be real together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unless somebody really stinks, and then I hold the right to sort of say, "Holy crap, that was horrible." It's usually few and far between.
But Hank,
did you guys read?
Hank, you say that once in a while, but you're a kind person.
Yeah, I guess so.
Believe me, you can say almost anything if you're a kind person.
Yeah.
People hear it from you. You know, it's not about what it's not only about what you say. It's also the presence that you bring to it. You know.
Did you guys read this article about? It was in this magazine called Pacific Standard, and it was about the trend to eat toast in San Francisco. Did you guys read this?
It was on This American Life too.
Yes,
there's a whole story on This American Life.
Interesting article because this woman
Yeah.
You know, far from it being this total she trend, she was saving her own life by opening a cafe where you could order toast, coconuts, and grapefruit juice. And the fact that that spread to being this she trend, to me, what people were actually responding to was that she was saving her own life. It's just that they picked the most, they didn't know that. They picked, it just was compelling and they didn't know why. And so it turned into a trend about toast. But to me, what she was doing was, for people who didn't read it, she was creating a way that hundreds of people would know who she was, because she had a rare form of schizophrenia where she would literally forget who she was, and she needed other people to recognize her. She said that having someone say hello to her by name could make the difference between her getting home at night and her absolutely getting lost. And I thought that was such a great metaphor for what we're trying to do. But you know, when do we say, okay, all we can really deliver is a few things, but they're going to bring us home, because we need to get home. We need to be recognized. You know, instead of trying to give a smorgasbord that everybody might come into the old country buffet, you know. And I feel like that is at the root of this missional piece that you're talking about, Tom. Is our own salvation, to use that word, is our own finding our way home, which God knows I'm as broken as anyone on the planet, you know. And so this, I mean, my little pet peeve, which isn't new at all, is this new branding of standing on the side of love with a chalice, because that's my baby. And part of my thing was, this is an aspiration. We do not in any way, I could never say that for one day I've stood on the side of love. It is an aspiration. And that, to me, that's a working slogan. I'm standing on the side of love when I am standing on the side of love, and not when I'm wearing a t-shirt or claiming to be part of a club that stands on the side of love. And so to kind of say, stand on the side of love, is like, we aspire to be these people. And so do lots of other people. And to kind of turn it into like a static identity like that, to me, takes the tension out of it. I get it. People want to be recognized. I absolutely get it, and I support that. And I don't know, maybe I'll love the new chalice standing on the side of love shirts. But
you know what? It reminds me of that old story of John Murray, where where he's talking to some Baptist minister, and the Baptist minister says, like, where do universalists stand on this? And he says, we don't stand on anything. We move. You know, I think that's what it reminds me of. Like, and it is. It also goes back to the covenantal talk about walking together. You know, we're moving together. In all our differences, we're moving together. It's this Platonic idea that none of us have all the answers, but we all have a part of this image of God, of what we want, of what Jerusalem is, and thus we're going to work on it together. And thus it also means that we're broken, we're imperfect, but we're also just different people with different experiences, and that influences how we see and understand the world.
I've always sensed this beautiful, inviting tension in universalism, because on one hand, the God who holds this circle of grace for every person loves us exactly as we are, and the universalists were all about creating more love in the world and growing and learning. And so, yes, we're fine the way we are. We are enough, and we're always trying to get a little wiser and a little more compassionate.
Right. We're fine the way we are in radical imperfection. Just radical imperfection, because we're human. And so when I say we're fine the way we are, I don't mean, damn, we're great, we're better than other people. I just mean everybody. We're all on this planet just doing the best we can, and hopefully other people are spurring us to do a little better, But
why don't we introduce ourselves again?
Oh, what a good idea.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm Tom Shade, and I'm a retired minister in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
And I'm Hank Purse. I'm the interim minister at the First Parish Church United in Westford, Massachusetts.
I'm Erika Hewitt. I'm a half-time consulting minister in Damariscotta, Maine, and half-time teacher, coach, and writer most recently.
Lift it up higher.
Okay.
Really
I was encouraged to make this endorsement.
absolutely. Absolutely.
The shared pulpit is my ode to shared ministry, in which I believe that lay people have the right and the power and the faith to write and deliver sermons in the pulpit, hence the name, the shared pulpit. Small group program.
Fabulous. And I'm Meg Riley here in Minneapolis, Minnesota with the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And behind that blue chalice lurks Scott Yeomans, our tech guy for today, who's out in Colorado and probably doing other things because happily today the tech is working. Yes. So I'm enjoying this exchange, and I realize we've gotten a piece from where we started, which was Erika's thoughts about creating an environment that supports risk and supports change, I guess you would say also.
Well, vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, and choosing, for example, to notice when, for example, if I'm in a worship service or I read something from the UUA or I log on to UUMA Connect and I'm one of the first 10 ministers and I win the prize, to notice whether I'm coming at it from assessing, like, does this meet my needs? Do I like this? Is this okay? To moving to a place of, oh, I wonder about the love and time that went into this. And I wonder if someone took a risk that I could affirm. And I wonder if I can find ways to appreciate who this might be, who this might change, and who this could be, a powerful tool of transformation for.
The main lesson I got from going to a Methodist seminary was that
really
every time I went to class, I either had to walk in there going, I'm going to hear a lot of things that are wrong, that I don't agree with, that I think are actually bad ideas, or I'm going to go into the class and find what I can affirm, what's useful to me, what's generous, and what's helpful to me, and help and true. And that if I focused entirely on that first question, I would have a miserable experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get angrier and angrier. And I saw UU students at Methodist seminaries go exactly down that path.
Mm-hmm.
Often they didn't finish seminary because they got so frustrated and angry that they couldn't do it. But so you have to go. You go into church and you go, I'll tell you the story. I'm going right now to the Ann Arbor Church here, which is a historically old humanist church from the 19th century, college town, Midwest. It's, a humanist church. And my experience in UU churches was First Unitarian in Worcester, Massachusetts. So the worship service is entirely different. They even sing words to songs differently. And, I could go in there and I could be incredibly frustrated by now, but there's something there every week that works. Mm-hmm. That works for me. That's maybe not the way I would have done it, but it works for me. So you have to build that atmosphere in yourself of openness.
Well, and let me come back to Tom. What a gift that must be to not just you, but to Gail. Okay, and what a gift it Gail, who's the senior minister of that church. But what a gift it is to our leaders when we're able to do that instead of sort of glaring at them. And what I think I heard some of you say is that you share this sense, knowing that we will be leaders at General Assembly, share this sense of almost like, please don't let the criticism be too hard and too fast, and what it opens up in the sense of freedom. If we could trust that wouldn't happen.
Well,
Erika, I don't.
We invite the best. You do good.
No, I don't. I don't have that. When you mentioned that, and I thought, why don't I? It's because I invited a team of people who are fabulous to be with me.
Yeah.
I thought.
Oh, so you can blame somebody else?
Well, so I feel like I know I'm being ministered to. I've got Jason Sheldon doing music, and Mark Bellatini, and Mark Hicks, and Queen of Boston, and it's so I'm a piece of it, and you've got Michelle, and to me that collaboration and that collegiality is why I'm not worried about it, because because I know that I'm being ministered to there, and I'm not having to buck up and be the one, you know. And when I was out in PSWD, when I knew it was working, I had said, instead of doing a 30-minute keynote, I want to break it up into 4 short parts, because that's how I'm used to talking now online. And I had music in between. And I hadn't particularly paid attention to the music, but I finished the first piece, and these musicians got up, and you would have thought that we had spent days aligning what we were doing. I mean, and I thought, the Spirit is at work, and I just relaxed. At that point, I knew, you know, and it happened with all the, it was amazing. You heard that, yeah. So
I heard the story. I think it was Ian Riddell, right? Partly
yeah, Ian was there, yeah.
And it's wonderful when grace moves.
Yes, you can't assume it.
Right.
God knows.
It's the same Spirit that moves through the search process when there's enough, when we loosen enough to to make room in the container for grace Spirit. And I'm thrilled you have that team, and I trust Michelle, and we have a great team. I think does it matter to you, Meg? I wonder if it's also imagining it's your congregation. I mean, your service, I think, is open to everyone, but that's your people. That's your congregation. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I'm really excited for once the live stream. I work for CLF. We always every year we have a new issue with live stream. So this year I'm like, yes, they're going to actually get it live. But Tom, what you said made me think about a letter I read this morning from a guy in prison. You know, we get a lot of letters we have 600 prison members at the CLF, and he had just gotten, our March issue was about health and illness, and Christine Robinson had written a piece about what she'd learned from cancer. And he wrote a piece, he said, you know, I'm in prison for a crime I didn't commit. And I've just been so angry about that, you know, there's been no healing able to come. But he said something about reading Christine Robinson's piece about cancer was healing for me. And it's made me realize that as horrible as this situation is, I'm going to figure out how to make the best of it. You know, he wants to join the CLF to help him. And I just was so moved by that, because, you know, you read all these cases of people, and who knows, it's also what everyone says, but you read all these cases of people in prison for crimes they didn't do, and I've wondered sometimes, you know, like, would I have grace in that situation, or would I just be unable to let go of the injustice of that, in part because of my interests, because I've been raised white and middle class, and I've been taught that I'm entitled to shape the world and have, you know, and other people that I know sometimes are much happier because they do not have that sense of entitlement, and so they make their own lives in some ways. I think partly that's what bites us in the butt is, frankly, our privilege. You know, like, why should everyone think they had a say in a logo that the UUA did?
That's right. That's right. Or whether they're sure.
Well, I think it's amazing that we have a denomination in which we assume that any member of any congregation anywhere, no matter their circumstances, is going to be able to afford to go to the General Assembly. Yeah. I mean, that's actually, when you think about it, an astonishingly unrealistic goal. You know, I mean, it's like, when you look at the number of people who live in, you know, who are like poor, you know, I mean, the median income, family income is like $50,000, the median, right? And that means that 150 million people are living in families with making less than that. And you're going to go, oh, okay, but you're going to be able to afford, you're going to be able to put on a thing in another part of the country, you know, where you're going to be able to come and, you know, live for a week. You know, I mean, it's crazy talk. I mean, it assumes that everybody's, you know, pretty middle class. That's the, you know, that's the assumption on it. You know, Nick Giordano, who wrote a newsletter, a blog during the campaign 2008, describes this wonderful visit he made to an Obama volunteer center. And on the wall was this big sign that said, respect, include, empower, right? And so he asked people to unpack what that meant in that circumstances. And the respect meant that, that you had to respect everybody's reason for walking in the door. that you couldn't choose and say, okay, this person gets what Obama's really about, but this person doesn't. You know, this person's got a poor reason for it. You have to respect everybody, which means you have to respect everybody you're working with for why they're there. You have to respect their reason for being there, and then include and empower from that. But that notion of extending respect to everybody who comes in the door for the reason why they're there and the effort they're making is part of what's going on, I think, with what Erika's talking about, is respecting the fact that people work on these things, you know?
It's one of the things that I often say to UU young adults who grew up as Unitarian, you know, who grew up in the church, is that I say, look, you know, if you haven't figured it out already, this church is going to break your heart. You know, at some point it's going to let you down. So, you know, you're going to go to a church, whether it's your home church that you grew up in and you're returning to it, you know, after college or something, or you go to a different church than the church you grew up in, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, why is there a person here who drove an SUV and wearing a fur coat? Like, don't they understand? Like, we don't do that at Unitarian Universalists. We just don't do that. You know, and of course, the reason they may be there is because their son or daughter is gay, and this is the only place where they could feel they could get that support. And you know, so like they're not doing it wrong. They're just, you know, it's just different. And I think, you know, and to understand, like, yeah, you know what, like, it's going to happen. You're going to go like, this is wrong, and you know, and I think it's, you know, I think it's also important for folks who come in like having been, you know, from another faith, sort of feel like, oh, this is, I finally found it. Here it is. You know, here's you know, it's that, you know, that Moses, you know, the Red Sea. Oh, my people, I was enslaved, and now I'm here, and this is great. You know, and I think for those of us who grew up as Unitarian Universalists, I think often I sort of feel like, oh no, we're the Canaanites. We keep getting colonized by people coming, going like, I found it. Like, whoa! But you know, but that's who we are. So, but for them to understand too that, like, you know what, we're gonna do stuff that's wrong. You're not gonna understand it, like, you know.
And what that means, Hank, what that means, I think all the time about people like me who wrestled with another religion and were terribly disappointed and chose to leave, right? And our churches are filled with those people. And we've never had the practice of being disappointed and wrestling with a church and staying, some of us. Does that make sense? And it's a new experience to say, wait a minute, I chose you, and now you've disappointed me, and now I have to figure out how to keep making my home here.
Right, right.
It's like you see that person, you know, sometimes you see these people who've been married 5 times or something, and you go, well, you know, they just must go right to the lawyer as soon as something goes wrong, right? I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I mean, when your main religious act has been to leave, you're looking for the moment that you go, because when you left, you had like a whole series of things that happened before you decided. A whole series of disappointments, and you go, that's it. And so you're always asking yourself, is this the one? Is this really the point in which I go, okay, I'm out of here? You know.
You know what's interesting about the religious landscape now is that so many people have multiple religious homes. So they don't come to a faith and say, this is home, this is all of it. You know, maybe their spouse is a different faith, and I think that could be a really positive thing for us if we stop thinking that we're the only place that people can be, and we really get it that we have a part of it. Again, it's back to my let's have 3 things we do, you know, that we do really well, and so we understand that people may also go, you know, to seders, and that aren't UU seders, that, you know, that are really Jewish seders, that they may also go to celebrate holidays that we don't celebrate, and that it's, I mean, that's just increasingly the religious landscape, and I think that it's a good one for us, actually, if we let go.
We have a very 19th century view of church membership, that you belong to a church your whole life, you know. And it's a multi-generational thing, you know, 5th generation Unitarian, and then we're talking to you, Hank, and that it covers all of your spiritual needs, and that it's an incredible tragedy that your kids don't end up in the same church that you do, you know, and that's just not the way It's just not the way the world works. I mean, it's a beautiful vision and it's wonderful in a certain way, but it's not the way the world works.
It's been working so well.
I think if you
so far, so
can,
good.
I think people come to church because they're working through some transition or some life stage.
Yep.
And if you have a ministry that speaks to that life stage in a way that's effective, and you do that, that's probably about what you're going to get in most cases. You may be able to, if you're smart and you have your program together, transition from that life stage to the next life stage for that person, but in a lot of cases you won't. So, that family that comes in and says, I'm looking for, progressive religious education for my kids, that may be what they're looking for, and that may be what you can give them, and that may be the end of it, And that's not even the same as saying, I'm looking for a place that's a positive place for my youth to hang out. Because that.
And I think we also need to find ways for people to go deeper too, in our and have different religious experiences as our lives change too. So like, what made you so excited when you first came in, and this sort of stuff. Like you need to have like other things that are gonna bring people to different. It's a spiritual experience. It's a spiritual practice that of kind of going. All right, and we need to also we do these things, but we also need to have places for people to get into deeper into the religious life, and and to serve, and to these other things. So it's not just like, here you come in, you've experienced it for a year, that's it. You've seen how it works.
It's a spiritual growth that kind of keep up with your own life stages. For me, I'm always amazed that I'm not considered one of the enfants terribles of our movement. When I walk across the stage at GA, for retiring this year, I guess I have to give up the title of enfant terrible.
I remember
you're silverback, Tom, is what you are.
There you go. I remember giving up the word precocious about 3 years ago. I thought, you know what, Meg, there isn't a single thing you could do now that would be precocious. Even if you died, it wouldn't be precocious.
No one would say, "You're good, die young."
Right, exactly.
No one would say that anymore. We weren't quite at the point where they go,
She had a good run. She had a good run.
You had a good run.
And then the vet came over and gave her a shot.
No stainless steel table.
No stainless steel table.
We are shocked when someone so young is taken from us. That's the opening words in the eulogy.
There you go. Oh, gone too soon. Well, my friends, we're going to end on time because two of you are going to race out of here and win.
I can do it right now, baby.
Right? Now, you got 2 minutes.
I can't do it. I'm like disqualified. It'd be like Ed McMahon winning the.
Erika, if you win or I win, we'll split the winning. How's that? You and I
bet you're both going to win, although Tom gave the website, so now our hundreds of viewers are probably going to race that.
I know. This thing might crash the website.
Oh yeah.
So we're assured that there's just not enough UU ministers in the world to crash this website.
No, there must be Russian hackers somewhere right now. UUMA Connect is going live. We must take it down.
That swag thing,
So what is the swag stuff I keep hearing about? That's true.
Yeah, what's the prize going to be?
I'm not even sure what it is, but Don.
I'd like a free lunch at ministry days.
I'm thinking it's going to be a flash drive with a UUMA logo on it, but I could be wrong.
That could be true.
Yeah, those are often prizes that I'm winning these days. Logoed flash drives. So.
Yeah. Actually, we'll give you a piece of paper with your password written on it.
That would be a good prize.
With Meg's password on it.
That's right. Give it out to the first 10 people. Well, I'll upload inappropriate profile pictures for Megan.
There you go. Oh, Lord. Selfies with Hank. Exactly.
That's right.
Yes, that's the prize.
That's the prize.
Look,
Erika, you must come back. It's been really fun having you here. And you want to plug your book again before we go? You're welcome to.
Well, thank you. It's The Shared Pulpit, available at UUA Bookstore, a small group program for lay people to find their voice, not what they know, but who they are in the form of sermons.
Fabulous. That's great, actually. Fabulous. All right. Thanks for spending an hour with us, as Click and Clack say. You've wasted a perfectly good hour. So
15 seconds.
I will be in Iceland next week. I will not be here. Woo! Stefan Jonassen's tour of Iceland. So we'll have a great guest. I don't know who yet, but it'll be fabulous. And see you when I get back from Iceland.
Bye.
Take care, all.
I signed in.